Growing up, this man had a pretty good life, a good family. He had gone off to serve in the military, in the Marines. Any Marines in the house? All right. And so he served and he finished his time, and then he went and got a job. He got married, and he had a pretty good life going. Then, kind of like Job, some disaster struck. Seemed to be all at once. It kind of started with the divorce, and then it hit that he lost his job, and then he needed to find a different place to live, but his identity was stolen, and so his credit was shot, and now he was living in his car in the dead of winter, trying to stay warm, and so he was really at the bottom of the barrel. He had hit rock bottom, and the only thing that comforted him, as he shared this with me years later, was Job. Job had taught him not why he was going through this, but what he could learn from it. And ultimately what he learned is that God had a plan. God had a plan for him, and there was a purpose for his suffering. If you're a new Christian, let me tell you, and you read the first 2 chapters of Job, your mind will be blown. Am I right? I mean, what you see in the first 2 chapters of Job is just like, what is going on? This is crazy. Here's a man who basically had everything going for him, and then it's all taken away. And then you find out why it's all taken away. There's this conversation between God and the devil, Satan. And God allows Satan. In fact, he points out to Satan, have you considered Job? That's scary, right? I mean, that is really scary, but very thought-provoking. That's just the first 2 chapters. Chapters 3 through 37, the bulk of the book, is Job's conversation with his so-called friends, right? And the mental agony that he's going through, and his comforting friends. You'll know why I'm doing air quotes there, okay? In a little bit. The final chapters of Job is the restoration. And Job is restored from God. I wondered as I was reading the book, I'm sure you had your own questions, but I wondered as I was reading the book, how long did Job suffer? We don't get a time frame. Was it weeks? Was it months? Was it years? I wondered that. How long did he suffer? So I call it a season. Because we all will have seasons of suffering, won't we? You've been through a season of suffering. You're maybe in one right now. You will be one in the future, because suffering is a fact of life. Is it not? The question is better than any other question. Not why, but what's your response? What's going to be your response to God in your suffering? My hope is that Job will speak to you today, that the Holy Spirit will speak through me, and you will hear and understand how you can respond, how you can worship God in the midst of suffering. If you don't hear anything at all, I pray that you hear that this morning, that you can worship God even in the midst of suffering. And you can say what Job said, the most important verse in the whole book of Job, Job 23:10. He said, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold." I love that verse. That's the most important verse that you need to hear.